Coming up, we're going to talk about the last entertainment that was announced for Halloween Horror Nights, and then we're going to give you our hype list. That's our list of everything that we, in order of what we're excited for at Halloween Horror Nights. So much fun. So, from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Universal edition of The Diz Unplugged. This is episode 231 of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect universal vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is also brought to you by DizBoards.com. If you're looking for even more information to help you plan your Universal Orlando vacation, head over to DizBoards.com and join the discussion today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. I am your host, Craig Williams. Today, I'm joined alongside by my co-host, Ryan the Ryno Clavin.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Universal Edition podcast. I almost started all over again saying I'm your host, Craig Williams, but I caught myself there, which that is a good thing. So, welcome to this week. So I don't know what else to say about that, but really not that big show this week, which is a great thing because Ryno and I are currently traveling anyways, and we're super busy. So I couldn't wish for a busy week this week. I'm just really digressing here. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not even digressing. I'm degressing. I'm gressing, and I need to stop that. But yeah, so we got a fun show for you here where we're going to talk about the last bit of entertainment announced for Halloween Horror Nights. Of course, last week we had our mega packed episode full of everything Halloween Horror Nights, and then the day I ended up releasing that show late, but if we would still record live, then we would have been able to include today's bit of news in there, but we don't, so that's just how it is. And then after we talk about that, of course, we're going to talk about our rankings, our pre-rankings for the houses from 10 all the way to 1, what we're least excited for to what we're most excited for. So I think there's going to be some surprises there. I think there's going to be some not surprises, and it's going to be fun. But before we get things started too far, I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, the likelihood of a show happening next week is slim to none. As I already said, Ryno and I are going to be traveling this weekend for the D23 Expo. So I know on the Disney side, not the Universal side, but we're still going to be out in California for that. So that's going to be chewing up our schedules. And then as soon as we get home, we actually roll right into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and the media event for it, and then the opening date, and it's just going to be a crazy time. So I highly doubt that we're actually going to have an episode for you next week. Who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
It took a second.
I did not even intend to do that. It just came out that way. But stranger things have happened. But most likely, we will not have a show for you. So I apologize. But you know in advance. Not that it matters anyways. I know you don't really care that much. But I needed to just let you know. So that's it. That's it for me. Let's jump into the news. Ryno, what was announced? What is the last final announcement for Halloween Horror Nights? What was it? Ryno, what was it?
It's a fun new Lagoon show. And by fun, I mean terrifying. Or
terrifying?
Terrifying. Well, maybe not terrifying, but it's the Halloween Marathon of Mayhem Lagoon show that's going to be playing during Halloween Horror Nights from September 6th through November 12th.
November 12th? What?
November 2nd. I can't read. You can grab a bucket and get ready as the Lagoon lights up with iconic scenes from Netflix's Stranger Things, Ghostbusters, Universal Monsters, and killer clowns from outer space. The show features a blend of fountain-based media, state-of-the-art technologies, and special effects in a new way. This is one 80s nightmare you won't want to miss.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, no, this is a very exciting announcement. So, you know, it says
the Lagoon transformed with a spectacle of neon and synth. They could have said nothing else and they would have had me there.
You got neon and synth. No,
Batman and Robin. That's neon and synth. I don't know what that is.
Okay, fair enough. That was my terrible rendition of the Batman theme. I'm sure in my head it sounds perfect, but coming out it just sounds like ba 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 ba.
Which version of the Batman's theme?
Batman.
Oh, see, that's not the theme of the one that we were talking about, though.
Batman. There was a lot.
It's everybody knows it's no 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 Batman. You don't bubba 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 bubba. You no 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 no.
I don't like it. I know it's too hard to repetition it. Right? It's not as right. Okay, fair enough.
You're like a fish doing it. I imagine if Mr. Limpet were with us today, that's how he would do it.
I see him more as like a Bing Crosby, like beating kids. Okay.
Get me a martini.
Okay, moving on here. So, like Ryno said, neon synth 80s goodness happening here. So this is exciting because we knew there was going to be more entertainment. There was the rumor that was kind of swirling around that it might be this, but this is where the big question mark was. Was it going to happen? Was it not? And it absolutely ended up being a reality, and very cool because it's with the theme being 80s again this year. It really was kind of like, okay, well, how much more is it going to tie in besides those couple houses with the 80s and the scare zones, especially the Anarcade? It's like, where are we going to get 80s? And I think now we have full-blown 80s here, especially with the Halloween Marathon of Mayhem Lagoon show. And I just love the name, like Halloween Marathon. It's like, it clearly, it just hits everything that is good about Halloween right
I
there.
don't even just love the name. I love this art, this concept art that's on here because I bet that's the logo that's going to be on like a nice tumbler or Tervitz or something.
Oh, it needs to. I mean, this is one logo I could get behind, with obviously Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, Slimer, Killer Clowns, Universal Monsters on there, and just
the Mind Flayer. Come on.
I mean, it's.
I know you don't like Stranger Things.
I do like Stranger Things. I don't like making Stranger Things a bigger deal than it should be.
I like making it the biggest of deals.
I know you do, and I'm happy for you, and you'll keep fighting that fight for that and Sabrina. But
oh God, I love Sabrina.
Yeah,
she's a teenager and she's a witch.
All one of you loves Sabrina, so it's just a show no one can get behind, but it's okay. So this fountain show, like Ryno said, what's going to be featured on it? Of course, Ghostbusters, Stranger Things, Universal Monsters, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And I like to hold, even though it seemed like it was very solidified on those four properties, I like to hold a question mark on it. Like, is Universal really going to just stop with that? I mean, they could, obviously. It's for a show. They only have 10 properties in their regular cinematic celebration. So really, I guess they could.
Is it even 10? Is it 10?
It's about 10, give or take. Some main ones, and then with the DreamWorks, they kind of they go in and out there and throw some in. Really low key with some of it. I don't know. I'd have to go back and count.
You're
maybe
right,
8.
You're right.
Maybe we'll say 8.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter, there's 8 films alone there, so a lot to choose from with that. So I guess we could keep increasing this list. But the same thing goes in terms of this. It's with Universal Monsters. If you break down every monster in their own movie, then obviously you have a lot of properties that you're starting to dance with there. So definitely, I think it's enough to just go with those. But I'd even be interested if they tie it in other way, tie in other properties in other ways. I doubt it'll happen, but it would be cool if they did. Or just like this is the first version of the show, and every year it's going to have a new updated one with the properties and everything with it with different themes. So I really love Universal Orlando's cinematic celebration. I think it is a great fountain show. I know it's not super exciting for some people, and there's always going to be the people out there who will say that World of Color is the superior fountain show when it comes to fountain shows. And while I think it definitely is on a different level in terms of grandiose, and is it grandiose or grandiose? I've never known that.
Well, I mean, I like to say grandiose. I think they're just interchangeable words.
I don't think they are. I think I just made up grandiose.
No. It sounds too French.
I'll say
not
grandeur.
To be real.
The grandeur.
The grandeur is who decides in a case.
That's the grand juror.
Jury.
And that too. I just, for me, I'll be honest. The last time we saw World of Color, the one thing I was like, I do love this show out in Disneyland. It's a little long.
It is long.
Yeah.
I don't even, you know what I was thinking about that too? I forgot where we were watching something recently too, and they're like 20 minutes, and I'm like, it's not just because it's not just the show, and I don't mean to be like, make all these shows shorter because we have a social media attention span, but you got to think like we got to go get in place for the show for however long before it, and then the show is that length too, and then getting out of the crowd after it. You know, it's like a flight. A flight sounds short where you're like, oh, well, it's an only 1 hour airline. You're like, well, I have to get to the airport 2 hours before, and then the 45 minutes it takes me to an hour to get out of the airport afterwards. So it's really not that length of time.
Yeah, that's exactly when people tell me like, oh, you could just fly up to Atlanta. I'm like, well, yeah, but we could also drive. I'm like, but you can fly so much faster. It's an hour flight. And like, well,
like,
no,
not
because
really, yeah.
I have a 50-minute ride to the airport and then, get there around 2 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
And at that point, then we have the hour flight. So that's 4 hours already invested
Well,
in
and then
what's only a
Atlanta's a
7
massive
hour.
airport, so you're like, okay, well, why not just take that other journey? At that point, it's sometimes it's one of those where you're like, the more advanced we get, the more frustrating it gets sometimes.
So that's Airport Doc in the middle of this Universal Edition episode. But
what I love about this show is the 3 show times.
yes, there are 3 show times. It's going to be happening at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and 12 a.m.
So you don't have to I feel like that alleviates a lot of that stress of being like, okay, that's my big, no, this is the Universal show, but that's my big problem with Mickey's Halloween party. Sometimes it's like, great, the stage show is going around multiple times, 2 times for the parade, but then you got 1 fireworks show, which I understand, it's a big production, but it is kind of like, it's hard because no matter where you go and watch, you're kind of cornered into staying in that one place for hours.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's like a drag queen coming out at a nightclub right when you just get that right amount of buzz and you're ready to dance and get that confidence going, and then it ruins the mood for me. That's my journey going to nightclubs in Orlando.
I was going to say, I can honestly
I know that was completely unrelatable, but that's all I could think about is like, I'm a very awkward person. I would go and have a drink, and the second anytime I go to a dance, no matter what club I'm at, they're like, drag show. And I'm like, for the love of God, can they put them in another room so I can still dance? I just want to dance, Craig. I just want to dance.
I've only been to clubs a handful of time with drag, and that was not my experience. Mostly because I wasn't dancing. I was that guy just standing at the bar. Like, I was like, I didn't know where I was going. I just went along with friends, and I'm enjoying the drink specials. That's all that I need. Good drink specials. But with that 10, 11, and 12 p.m. time schedule there, it's going to be no problem in terms of the hours with Universal. You might say, well, 12 o'clock, is that going to end out a night? Absolutely not, because the hours have been released, and it is open at the very least from 6:30 until 1 a.m. I almost said 11 a.m., and then I'm like, no, that's really long. 6:30 p.m. till 1 a.m., and basically every night from the opening night on Friday, September 6th, through September 25th is going to be 6:30 to 1 a.m. And then after that, every single night is basically 6:30 to 2 a.m., with the exception being October 2nd, which is a Wednesday, and October 29th, which is a Tuesday. So besides those days, every day 6:30 to 2 a.m. So get pumpity for that.
Get what? Pumpity?
Pumpity.
Pumpity
The pumpernickel. So, and yeah.
Pumpity the pumpkin. Duh, it's Halloween.
No, pumpernickel bread. The official mascot of Halloween. A good pumpernickel. Throw in some spinach and artichoke dip in there.
The Peter Pumpernickel eater.
Yes. Peter Pumperdinkle.
Dinkle.
Peter Dinklage? I don't know.
Yeah, that's I was like, in his greatest role.
So I'm super, super pumped for this show. This is what I think I've been waiting for, that one extra thing where I could say, okay, if it's a super crazy night of Halloween Horror Nights where I only get like a couple houses done, but I want to feel like I justified my time there without Bill and Ted, where you can go and watch that show, I feel like this will at least keep me here until, 10:30 now, because I'll want to watch the show and then go home after that. So I am hoping it lives up to how I've hyped it up in my head. It might be impossible, but I'm still hopeful nonetheless. Very excited for it. But with that, we are going to move on to the last part of this show, and it will end out the show because, like I said, we're very busy. We've got to go to California and do some stuff out there.
Hey.
Yeah, California, here we come. Right back where we started from. No, okay.
Fair. I don't know what that is.
I believe it was a song they sang on I Love Lucy when they were first heading out to California. And every single time you went into Lucy a tribute, it would be playing. Like you would have the trivia game and it would be like, oh, ba ba ba.
You're on the Baba Buzz today.
Ba 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 ba.
Baba Booey.
No, different show. But yeah, we're going to go over our hype list as the kids call it online, as you see people posting about it all the time. This is going to be ours. So we're just going to run through it 10 to 1 and we'll share maybe a couple anecdotes, thoughts along the way as well too. So Ryno, what is your least hyped house? I think it's
House
going to be
of a Thousand Corpses.
Okay.
I don't care one bit about it. I have been watching online. People have been watching the movie, and they're like, I never want to lay my eyes on this ever again, and this is terrible and disgusting, and so I am not excited about trying to get through this movie, and I feel I'm going to feel the same way about the house. I'm sure it's going to be a scary house. I'm not even knocking that. I just have this, not even visceral, that's not the right word, just this, like, gut rejection of it. Like I can't even, it's not even something where I can be like, I'll probably go through it the one time and then hate it, but who knows, maybe I'll be wrong.
Yep.
You know how it happens.
Oh yeah, so I haven't had a chance to rewatch it yet, but I did just I received my copy of it from Amazon that was obviously I went out and got it so I could freshen up on it for the event. So at $5.99 I felt like that price was still a little too steep. I would have preferred to pay more around the $4 mark. You know, I could have obviously bought a used copy, but I am very particular about movies. I like them fresh and new. I don't like them already watched. That's just not my thing. So
I prefer to only find them from abandoned blockbusters.
And that's getting more and more difficult. Family Video, yeah, it's still easy, but Blockbusters, no way. And yeah, so I will save. Maybe it will jump up on my list more here once I rewatch the movie and kind of place it into context. But right now, it definitely is at the bottom of the barrel. I was texting Ryno while I was listening to Hellbilly Deluxe, the Rob Zombie album that they're basing a Scare Zone off of. I'm like, it's like the first two songs are like, okay, I remember this from every sporting game, sporting match, sports event that I went to and during that period when it was released, and then every video game for a while. Like I remembered the songs from that, but it was grating on my ears.
It's like Rob Zombie is definitely an appeal, and I'm not like trying to generalize his music or the movies or anything like that, but it's like I can visualize the type of person it appeals to. And this is rude because I like a lot of music that people don't expect me to write to, but it reminds me of like what I thought of Halloween Horror Nights maybe like 10 or 15 years ago. Like the I don't know.
Wow.
I know.
You're going to want me to edit this out, this judgmental moment from Ryno?
No, and I'm trying to be open-minded about it, and who knows, maybe I'm going to watch this and feel completely different. I've seen parts of it. That's the part where I'm like, ugh. I think about this sometimes, though, how I was when I was younger. Like, I watched the trailer. I know this is random, but I watched the trailer for the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre the other day because I was reading a thing about editing, and they were saying how well that trailer's edited, and it is edited very well. But I was thinking like how when I saw that movie, I was like, this movie's great. It's very scary. It's like in your face. And now here I am, 15, 16 years later, and I hate that movie. I don't ever want to watch anymore. So it's funny how your taste kind of changes and evolves. So I feel like I've just moved beyond that type of horror film. I'm not saying that I never liked it or whatever. I'm not in that place right now.
I get that because like I still love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but
right. But it's a specific aesthetic, right?
Yeah, no. I remember the night I went to see it in theaters. So we went with a whole bunch of German exchange students that were in Pennsylvania
could you be
at the
any more
time.
art house?
We took them to the fanciest of fanciest.
We had
films.
clove cigarettes as we went in.
And like I remember watching it and in the theater with all them. It's like, this was awesome. This was so brutal and gross.
Yeah.
And bought it on
I think
DVD.
brutal's a good word, yeah.
And then I was like, why the heck did I buy this? I watched it like twice throughout the years, and now it is still in my DVD collection. It was not when I upgraded to Blu-ray, but
you know what else I felt like that with? The Saw movies. When I saw Saw the first time in the movie theater, it was like about how the movie was made and the twist in the movie, and I was like, wow, this movie was really surprising. And then I felt like the second one, and then the third one, especially for me, really, I was like, wow, they are doing something really different and unique here. And then after that, I was like, oh no, they've taken a turn, and it's that brutality. And it was also that type of it was very, the fad in horror movies at that time was very, what do they call it? Torture porn?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I can't stomach it anymore. It's just one of those things. So it's like, I'm not knocking the people who are probably like super excited for House of a Thousand Corpses, and I'm very happy for you to have this, but it just kind of reminds me of that. I still can't get Michael Myers stomping a guy's head to mush like a pumpkin in Rob Zombie's Halloween, and that's where I'm like, I feel sick about it.
But I do enjoy Saw 1 through 3 still. I think they still hold up.
I do. I just feel like they fall apart after that. They just they try to go back into that thing too much. But the third one, that reveal at the end, you're like, my mind is blown. Like,
wow.
Wow.
Okay, number 9, what do you have?
Blood Pit Nightingales.
Oh, well, you got it backwards, but close enough. And that's
Nightingales, Blood Pit. Sorry.
See, this is much higher up on my list. I think more for the appreciation that this is one story that we have with Universal that obviously the Nightingales have been a part of it before. So I like when they bring back their original concepts that they have. And so I know that you don't like Gladiator.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm hoping to be delightfully surprised. I do appreciate whenever there is that recurring or sequel houses or stuff like that. I think that's one of the most fun things that Universal Halloween Horror Nights does, is bringing that into the mix. But I don't know. This one just seems very. It's another aesthetic thing. I'm not looking forward to the aesthetic, and it just seems very basic. And
I have no doubts that it will have a basic sense to it. But I love Gladiator.
I know you do. You won't shut up about it for the last like 2 years, forever.
No, it's been since it was released. I love gladiators. So I don't want it to be like Airplane. Joey, do you love movies about gladiators? Have you ever been in a Turkish men's prison camp?
I don't remember. I haven't seen Airplane since I was a kid.
Joey, have you seen a grown man naked?
What?
It's the pilot. Not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the other one. The little kid comes up to the cockpit, and it starts out all innocent, and then he starts asking him all these creepy questions.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's classic. They should do that for Halloween Horror Nights. Won't fit in any way at all, but just we need more Airplane in our life. My number 9 is Us. So I know it's a good movie. For a house, you kind of heard us talk about it, not completely sold on it. I will tell you the reason why I have it this low on my list is actually because it is on sale this week at Best Buy and
how much?
Amazon.
$10?
No, that's the problem. It was $12.99. I'm like, I don't like the movie enough to even spend $13 on it. So how excited can I truly be for a house based on it?
I mean, I would probably in the end pay that amount. I'm on this challenging game with me, trying to wait till they get to the lowest, and I know it'll probably be like a Black Friday special or something like that.
$7.99 would do it for me.
See, I'd still need. See, I did see it twice. I did enjoy. There's something about it, and this is another one that it sometimes is very brutal, but it's very like. There's something that keeps pulling me to it. There's just this weird. It's like that song that opens the movie with the bunny rabbits is like hypnotizing me, and then I can't stop. It's Lupita Nyong'o. I'll tell you right now, that's what pulls me in. And Winston Duke. We all know I'm in love with him, so it's fine.
Okay. Well, tell us what your number 8 is, though.
It is. It's Us. But I know what you're talking about. It seems like it's a complex story that maybe can't be translated without you. You know what I mean? It feels like it's going to be basic.
Yep. My number 8 is Depths of Fear. So
interesting.
And I really should say, after House of a Thousand Corpses, this really is like, I'm excited for all of these houses, but it's just in terms of preference.
I'm not looking forward to getting wet.
I don't mind anything like that. It's really the claustrophobic concept, like, to me,
I'm scared about that.
Well, yeah, like we know that it takes a lot of work to scare me. When you do scare me, I scare
hilarious.
well.
Yeah.
But with claustrophobic like moments, that's not something I'm afraid of.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't used to be, but now that the older I'm getting, like when I was a kid, you'd make the tightest space possible and like squeeze behind the couch, and like I used to be like, oh, I'm gonna wait here forever, and it used to be like a hug, but nowadays I do it and I'm like, what if I'm stuck and I can't get out? I don't know. There's this weird panic that starts to happen more and more the older I'm getting. Like I can't dive as deep as I used to be able to, and without having a little bit of. I guess I'm just more afraid now than I used to be when I was younger, which is amazing because I was a baby when I was younger. A baby.
Baby.
I just realized too, I said something like Jiminy Glick a second ago. So
Baby.
I came in real high.
You came in real high and then went down low.
Yes.
Yes.
Who are you?
Okay. What's your number 7?
My number 7, the Yeti. I did find the Yeti very scary, and he kept scaring me all the time. In that, in what was the house last year with all the B movies?
It was wow. That the name of it completely dropped out of my head.
I loved the house, but the Yeti always scared me, and I was like
Slaughter Cinema.
Yeah, and but this one. None of these, other than House of a Thousand Corpses and Blood Pit, the rest of them I am looking forward to. It's just in the general, like you said, the hype train. So Yeti for me is just toward the lower end of it.
Okay. And mine is Stranger Things. So
I almost said the F word to you right now.
No, it's really, it just comes down to I actually
season 2 and 3, right? Or 1 and 2?
Season 2 and 3.
Okay.
And I mean, I was kind of lower on the spectrum for the house last year with season 1. I think when we did our pre-rankings, I want to say I had it around like 5.
Yeah, you were pretty low.
And actually, it was. I think it came up a little bit from that. So I ended up being pleasantly surprised with it. But we talked about it enough on this. I adamantly do not care for season 2. I think season 3 definitely changed the show dynamic for me, but I didn't like anything about season 2.
The pumpkins, Craig, pumpkins, they're rotting.
I understand. I did not care for season 2.
I know you hate Will is the problem too, and it's very Will centric.
Yeah, and so the fact is I'm not that excited about the season 2 aspects, and I have a feeling that we'll probably lean more on 2 than 3. But we could be wrong.
If there is not a Bob newbie in this house, I will burn the park to the ground.
Okay.
I guess I'll talk about it when I get to mine, when it's up there on mine.
Yep, you can. So that's where I have Stranger Things number 7. Number 6, where are you?
Depths of Fear.
Okay.
Just with the same thing. I think it'll be interesting to be in like an underwater house. I don't want to get I don't want to get wet a ton, but I think I'll be interested to see what they do with it.
Okay. Yep. And at my number 6, I have Nightingale's Blood Pit because, again, I like gladiators and I like movies about gladiators.
I like men, so if there's some men in the gladiator outfits, I'm on board.
Yeah, it could raise up in there. Men.
That's gonna be what
we'll get copyright
myself.
hit for that. What's your number 5?
It is Graveyard Games. I am excited for a classic like graveyard haunted house. I'm hoping I get to see some ghosts and ghouls, and I look forward to. I'll be interested to see what it's like to do. I like when they do indoor-outdoor. So yeah. I can't wait to see what the graveyard looks like indoor. Yeah.
Nope, it's definitely on my list too. But my number 5 is Yeti Terror of the Yukon, and reason why it's so high on here, I love the idea that this could be our cold house where it's super chilly throughout the entire thing. I love the campiness of Yetis. I think it's just they're so big that they don't scare well, so it's just going to be like, and I know they're going to try to make...
they don't scare well? Didn't you see how scared I was every time one walked by me?
I didn't understand.
Came out of nowhere, the giants.
They're like 7 feet tall. They can't...
Well, when you're an average-heighted person like myself, it's scary.
No, they're just so big and so clunky. I was like, oh, there's Craig.
Well. No, it's a Yeti.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. But I like the idea of cold, and I like the idea of these big, goofy monsters coming around. So that's why it lands right.
Just
in the
give me that Harry and the
list.
Hendersons house someday.
Yeah, just John Lithgow standing there like, "Are you not scared?" I watched a lot of Third Rock last night, so I'm in for it.
Kylie must have been thrilled.
She was asleep. So number 4.
So this is a little bit higher up on my list than I thought it was going to be, but Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Wow.
I remember I watched this movie for the very first time last year for the Scare Zone, and I thought the movie is absolutely ridiculous, but in the best 80s ridiculous way where you're like, how was this ever made? And I remember watching it, though, thinking, this would be a way better maze or a house than it is a Scare Zone, and here we are. So I'm riding on that because I mean it could end up going lower, it could end up going higher.
My number 4 is Graveyard Games because, as we talked about last week with it, I love the idea of graveyards and classic Halloween in that sense. It's not going to be classic Halloween, but for me, Halloween means being a kid and going in a graveyard, and I like this spooky aspect of that. And then for my number 3, I had your number 4 with Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The only hesitation I have on this house, while I agree with you, I think adding in the scenery from the movie and like actually going into the circus tent spaceship and stuff, like I feel like that's what's going to take it to the next level. The only thing that kind of scares me about it is that these clowns are big. Like in the street, they took up a lot of room. So
yeah, you're right.
Putting kind of going with the same idea with the Yetis. It's when you have these big clunky characters, sometimes it's harder to achieve a lot of scares and scary moments when you're in such a tight, constricted place. But, however, I think Killer Clowns is going to be our fun house this year. So I don't know if
literally it is a fun house.
I don't think they're super concerned with super scary moments. So I think hopefully it'll be a little bit wider in some aspects and just take advantage of the fact that the clowns, we love seeing them more than having them scare us. So that is where I put it. But what about you for number 3?
I have Universal Monsters up there. I am excited to see what they do with their sorry. We're making a lot of weird faces. That's why I was trying to. No, I'm excited to see how they do it. I'm curious. Like, are we going to get a black and white section of the house? Like, I hope there's some uniqueness. Plus, I love the attention of that classic property, bringing it up to modern day. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of lightning. I can't wait to see the Wolfman because he's my favorite. But yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just go ahead with your number 2. You want to share your thoughts on Bob?
It's actually Stranger Things.
I know.
Yes. But again, I'm different than you. For me, Stranger Things, every season has only gotten better than the season before it. So I like season 2 a lot more than season 1. I love season 1 too. I'm not saying anything about it. I just feel like because you know everything about how the story goes in the first season, when you replay it, plays a little slower than the other seasons. But there's a lot when I rewatched season 2 a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, they'll like going in the tunnel in the Upside Down where like Hopper's gotten grabbed by has been grabbed by all of the tentacles from the Upside Down and and then the pumpkins, but then like when they're in the building, but then I can't wait to be in the mall from the 3rd season. I just think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I bet there's a lot of Billies in there.
Yeah, there should be. So if they can only find...
If they have Nancy's mom in there, I will lose my mind. Karen.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope they have the budget for mullets. Otherwise, and bad mustaches.
Scary mustaches, yeah.
Otherwise, it just won't be authentic. But my number 2 is Ghostbusters. So this really just comes down to the last one, obviously. So I can just say it, and we know where
you love the monsters.
Ghostbusters ends up number 1 on yours. For mine, it's Universal Monsters. It's just I love the monsters. Yeah. So it really is that battle. I grew up with Ghostbusters. I didn't necessarily grow up with Universal Monsters, but when I discovered them, like it clicked. It hit hard. Like if anything, it helped me develop more of a love for classic movies that I didn't necessarily always have. I don't want to be that little brat who was like, I don't like black and white movies. They're boring. But then it's, seeing monster movies and stuff that then opened my mind and kept me going. And and then once you start discovering all the B horror movies that came out in the 50s and the 60s that were just downright terrible, then it's like, oh, icing on the cake. But yeah, so Ghostbusters, the house is going to blow us away. I'm already prepared. As much as I'm most excited for Universal Monsters, I am pretty much sold that Ghostbusters is going to be my favorite house of the
it's,
year.
It's my number one listed here.
I think it's going to be the Poltergeist of last year, where it's going to be, everyone has high expectations for it, and it's going to match and exceed.
I mean, Ghostbusters is definitely this like unbelievably iconic movie. That is a great movie, and I think they're gonna really give it that attention to detail, and so I look forward to seeing a lot of like the little things around. But like for me, it was like, if anybody knows me, I'm the obsessed with Power Rangers. Ghostbusters was my Power Rangers before Power Rangers, and like I had all the proton packs, I had all this stuff, and so when I was a little kid, and I know you didn't come when you were really little, but the Ghostbusters show they used to have here, I thought it was the coolest thing I had ever seen. So it'll be really interesting to see how they're going to treat that property. And that was in the 90s. So I want to see what now in 2019 it's going to be like. And I'm nervous about how the proton packs are how the proton packs are going to go, but I am just ready to be able to walk through a Ghostbusters movie. I feel like my life has led to this moment.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, it's too important to screw up. So Universal's going to put their entire effort into making this the most epic experience. And I believe they genuinely do that with any property that they're lucky enough to be able to use for Halloween Horror Nights. But there's some of these properties that come along where they realize that they're even more special than the others, and I feel like they take more delicate care with it, especially when it's these classic movies like they've done in the past with Shining and Exorcist and Poltergeist and Ghostbusters. But it's going to be awesome. So very excited for the event. That was our rankings, our pre-rankings before the event starts on September 6th, 10 through 1 there. And, obviously after the event starts, we will share our feelings on it and then update you as we go along with the event.
We'll have an episode before then though, right?
Yeah, well, let me look at the calendar here. I don't. We should.
We said no next week, but I believe next Friday is the 31st.
Okay, so no show next week. We will have a show the day before the event starts, but not. So we'll have one more show before the event starts, and then the event starts, and then the following week we will update you on what we thought on that the 12th, the 12th of September. So very excited about that. Very, very excited.
Very.
And oddly enough, we won't even be in town on that day, but it's fine. It's okay. We'll figure it out. Well, we're all good.
On the 6th? Yes, we will.
No, I'm joking. I mean, on the 12th.
Oh, yeah, no, we won't.
Wow. Okay, so that's going to do it for this episode. No questions because y'all didn't leave us any. At least the last time I checked, you didn't leave us any. So for the next show,
we asked the questions.
The next show, we asked for questions. We demanded questions. Leave us questions in those comments below. But thank you so much for listening and watching to this. Of course, if you watch this on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe, hit that bell button so you get notified with new videos. Leave us comments and questions below. Hit that thumbs up. Do it. Just do it. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever, if you can subscribe, go ahead and do that. If you can rate and review us, leave us feedback, go ahead and do that as well. And if you need more information, disunplugged.com. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much to everyone out there for listening and watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We won't see you again next week, probably with another episode, but maybe after that. But remember, we still haven't changed the